the time it takes differs from my expectation. Yeah, so I mean, I plan to do academic pretty early on, I guess. So I am choosing actually between math and physics and computer science because I like doing all these subjects in my university. And at the end, I still choose mathematics because I enjoy the logic thinking behind the subject more than the other two. So physics is more like experimental based. So you derive things from experiments and then try to fit some models to it. So some sense it's like a guesswork. Yeah. So at the end, I choose math to be my PhD subject. So at the time, I mean, after undergraduate, the common practice is to apply for PhD schools in the US. And so it really is by chance. And if you fail, then your other option is to stay in Hong Kong for a master before you try again. So luckily, I got a PhD offer from Yale in my undergrad. So that's why I traveled to the US for my graduate studies. And so the usual expectations for such academic career is that you spend like 5 years in PhD to get a degree. And then maybe you spend 3 years as a postdoc in the United States, gain some reputations, gain some research results. And after that, return to Hong Kong. And that's my kind of my original plan. I mean, return to Hong Kong to teach, most probably here to enlighten my students after that. But so that's my original plan, and I actually passed the qualifying exam. So every PhD student has to pass their qualifying in the first 2 years. So after the second year, if you don't pass the exam, then you are kicked out from the school. So I actually passed my qualifying exam in the first semester. So I did all these exams in just 3 months. But then in reality, I took 7 years to get my PhD, which is already a delay. And then I spent like 6 years, not in US, but in Japan, as you know. So yeah, so this kind of differ from my original expectations. But well, maybe it's even happier because I mean, doing a postdoc in Japan is definitely much more interesting than those in the US, I guess. And it definitely transformed me into a real otaku, I guess. In Japan, I actually spent 3 years in Tokyo. Actually, it's not exactly Tokyo University, but it's a research institute in Kashiwa. So it's a kind of a satellite school called IPMU, Institute of the Physics and Mathematics of the Universe. It's a cool name. So it's focused on mathematical physics research. And the good thing is that there's like a direct train from that school to Akihabara. Yeah, so I travel to Akihabara every week, basically, at the time. And then I spent another 3 years in Kyoto as an assistant professor. So there you need to teach and do research at the same time. And then after that, I come back to Hong Kong. One expectation that I did not expect about this kind of career is that you get to travel a lot. You basically travel to many different places for summer schools, for workshops, for conference during semester break, maybe. Yeah. And I actually enjoy quite a lot because I like traveling, but somehow you are not traveling with your family, but just alone. And in the process, you meet new friends from different universities and things like that. So yeah, so that's kind of a big different from my expectation of such a career because I mean originally you thought you just do research, you read and calculate things, but then it turns out you spend quite a substantial amount of time to travel and meet new people. I think I myself is kind of an introvert, so I don't make too many friends. So the main channel to make friends is from some kind of social groups. So when I study abroad, for example, you befriend with the people from the Hong Kong Student Society. So yeah, naturally you go back to not the local people in the US, but your own local people, right? Yeah. So that's one main channel I meet friends, and also I joined the college orchestra. So if you know, I play music. So yeah, that's kind of the main main place I meet like really local people that you can befriend with because in US, for example, you are a graduate student, and graduate students do not do that much party and things like that. So we just focus on your study and things. While the undergraduate will think like you are like a seniors and do not try to approach you. So it's kind of hard to be friends with true local people. So by say joining orchestra or some these kind of social groups, you actually put yourself down to the same level as all the other people. So you actually can be real friends with them.
Yeah.
So this is like the social life, and of course, you also have the academic part. And as I told you, you meet many people from conferences. So those are the academic friends that actually you get to know even now, because I mean they usually share the same research areas, and you will get to contact with each other. Uh, Not that much, because I consider myself kind of lucky, because I mean when I apply for jobs, I get a job, and if I don't get a job, then probably that is something that I will be uncertain of. But
Okay.
so, for example, in the beginning, as I said, I want to do a postdoc in US, and it turns out I could not get even a single job in the US. But it's just by luck that somehow in Japan, the institute hired me. Yeah, so it kind of clears up my uncertainties at that point. And then you meet new people, and then I was actually recommended to switch to Kyoto after my contract in Tokyo. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's more like a luck of getting different acquaintances and different chances. And for Hong Kong, I mean, as I said, my original goal is to return to Hong Kong, and I actually applied seriously like 3 times, I guess.
3 times.
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends on how much like job openings you have in Hong Kong. So I just took the chance whenever they have openings. Yeah, so at the end, I actually get the offer from UST 1.5 years before my Kyoto contract ends.
Oh, okay.
But then because I have teaching duties and there, so I kind of delay my appointment.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of like uncertainty that it does not fit my original plan, but we just try to apply and apply again. Yeah, I mean it's kind of diverse. I mean, like
Yeah.
for example, if you want to
Kind of diverse.
work in industry, or if you want to do academic research, so yeah, it kind of diverse. But let's say I'm research path.
Yeah, maybe for research students.
Yeah, so if for research student, I mean, you just begin your undergrad, you can't expect to do much. But my advice is to learn things as much as possible, because I mean, in academic research, I mean, like it's like building a tower. So you can always start by just building right from bottom to top and get some result. But then the foundation is just very dangerous, and you cannot build too tall from that. So by learning many different things, you strengthen your base, and not just your area, but also some other different areas. So because although they may or may not be useful, but sometimes they may just be a connection to, I mean, just to be some support to your tower. Yeah. So yeah, I would suggest like learn a lot of things early on, say taking graduate courses. Don't, I mean, not just taking, but say auditing or just even sitting, trying to understand the first part. Because I mean, graduate course is very different from undergraduate. I mean, those are like research level and textbook level. Textbook things for the smarter ones, you can always read yourself to learn things faster. But then in mathematics, things are more like logical. So it's always tempting to skip through sessions when you don't understand when you read something, right? When you study and if you don't understand, you tend to skip it. But in mathematics learning, this is very dangerous, because if you have a logical gap, then your whole foundation will just collapse. So at this time, the best advice is to talk to professors, I think. Yeah, so talking to professors, I mean this is our job, really, to give academic advice.
Like a mentor.
Yeah, academic advice, not just like coursework, but just in general. Say if you are interested in financial mathematics, then you can always talk to Professor Koch, for example. I mean, you don't need to be his student, but you know that he is the expert in that field, and he definitely will have the answer you seek. So don't be afraid to approach to a professor, but of course, I mean, be polite. Ultimately, we are like seniors. I mean, I still get emails from students with the title Mister. I mean, that's kind of that's kind of I mean unacceptable, I think. Yeah. But learning, but like knowing professors is also a very good is important. Is very important thing because say if you want to do research career, the best thing is not really your academic result, but rather the recommendation letter from the professors. So if they know you well, or at least they have a good impression of you, then you will get good recommendation letter from them. And personally, I always believe that my PhD offer comes from the recommendation letter of Professor Yongchang Zhu in the department, because he's from Yale. I mean, and he read the letter. So yeah, so I believe recommendation letter is a very important part of your research career. And because I'm talking about the research career path, so yeah, learn as much as possible, and talk to professors and find recommendation. And also, I don't know if this like there's a chance now to do exchange, but that definitely will help. I mean, previously doing exchange will be a very important part because you get to meet people outside Hong Kong. And like for example, when you are asked to provide recommendation letter, then if all the recommendation letters is just from your own school, the image is not that good. So it's better to have someone outside your school to write you things. And if you have some academic people outside Hong Kong, then that would be the best option. So if you cannot do exchange, then one way to get acquaintance with these people, for example, nowadays, I guess, will be to attend seminars. So sometimes, I mean, we will invite people to give talks. Maybe, I mean, most of the time it's like graduate level, but you can still attend. And if you are not ashamed of yourself, you can try to talk to the speaker, right? Yeah. So in this way, you and after that, you can get personal contact with him. So yeah, in this way, you can get to know some people outside Hong Kong in this moment, because you can't really get outside now. Yeah, but yeah, knowing people outside your school is also very important if you really want to do your career path in research later. I mean, if you attend my class, then you probably know who's my favorite character is a Psyduck. We consider that as a character Psyduck from Pokemon. But well, I mean, yeah. So how do I develop the interest in anime? So I mean, you watch anime as a kid, that's for sure. And actually, I also learned Japanese, not because of anime, but because of the Pokemon game, the Game Boy thing. So at that time, I mean, I occasionally watch anime, but not that much. So I really developed this interest when during the graduate school. I mean, I mean, mathematicians are lazy. So when we do graduate school, we have classes also, but it's usually like only Tuesday, Thursday, and then like the other days are quite free, and you just stay at your home and reading books and papers. But you cannot do this 24 hours, right? And I mean, during weekdays, I mean, your friends are also not free. I mean, they are, as you know, my friends are like undergraduate friends, so they have their own courses and things. So yeah, during weekday, you don't have really much to do, and yeah, so you watch anime a lot. Yeah, and yeah, online and so on. Yeah, so that's how you, that's how I get to this anime business. And then when I go to Japan, I mean, it's even better because I have TV, so I can just watch live.
Yeah,
and
it's
also
more convenient.
and also learn Japanese at the same time. Yes. Well, I mean, there's like the three greatest scientists in anime history. So they overlook my research work in my office. So you have I don't know if I can share here. So you have Makisa Kurisu from Steins Gate. So probably people know about him. And Haibara Ai from Koran. Yeah, so I mean she's a scientist, definitely. And Hakase from Ikijo. Yeah, so I consider those are the three greatest scientists in anime history. Female scientists in female history. And yeah, maybe actually I have a photo, so maybe you can see in my Facebook, but yeah. So when I ship my things back to Hong Kong from Japan, it took quite difficulty to pack them. Yeah, so it's kind of my collections before I come back to Hong Kong, and after that I got a lot more. Yeah, so I basically how to say price myself to just buy figures when I do conference in Japan, I guess.